You're now watching this AFC South show on Curtis Podcast Network. Hosted by Blake Bellamy, Isaiah Michelli, and Curtis Brown. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this AFC South show. I'm your host, Curtis Brown. With me, as always, is Blake Bellamy, and we got Jaguars fan Isaiah Michelli, as well as a Colts fan. For the first time, Aaron Pitman joins us on the pod. That's right, your eyes are not being deceived. We have equal representation. Who'd have thought? So, a little bit of in-house stuff that we'll get into the show. We have a 100 subscriber goal by the end of September, which is tomorrow. So, smash that subscribe button. One free merch item from the store to one lucky subscriber who gets us to 100. And it could be anybody in there. So hit that subscribe button, folks, and you might be able to get some little something. Oh, wrong way. Oh. We're not going to be showing the pick'ems on the screen anymore. We'll actually have a pick'em ticker at the bottom of the screen. So, but let's get into our predictions a little bit. We're going to pick a game. Is there any games that you guys wanted to talk about outside of the South? No?
Wow. There's, Tampa, Kansas City is probably the big one for the week.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that's a big one that we would want to talk about. And that one is right now, that's up in the air, right? They're still debating whether that's actually going to be down in Tampa or if that's going to be moved to Minneapolis, which might maybe be a better situation for Tampa, depending if Chiefs fans can actually get tickets up to Minneapolis. You know, they're typically a well-traveled team, but rematch of the Super Bowl from a couple of years ago should be a really solid game. Chiefs looking to bounce back. They did not have a good offensive game against the Colts this past Sunday. So I would expect them to come out firing. Tampa ailing right now. They've got some injuries, but they do get Mike Evans back. Should be an excellent game. But for me, I'm thinking that Kansas City's got a real strong opportunity to go down there and get back on the winning track.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I actually have Kansas City beating Tampa. There's just a lot of is Mike Evans hurt? I know he was suspended last week, but he's coming back.
I think he got was it one or two games?
Was it 2 games? I thought it was just one.
I believe it was one game.
Yeah, he's suspended one game. He'll be back.
Yeah. So Mike Evans is going to be back, but they still have Julio, who's been in and out of the lineup. Godwin's been out since week 1, I think, because he pretty much showed up fresh off the ACL. Let's go. And then just not working out very well for him so far. Let's see. Isaiah, you got a game you got your eye on?
Ravens Bills. I think that we get a real test to see if Lamar Jackson is for real or if those secondaries and teams who is facing him are just kind of not ready for him now that he has actual receiving weapons. I think that'd be a good one. The Bills are the real deal. We know who they are. Dolphins are good. I don't think the Ravens defense is as good as the Bills defense. So it's definitely going to be a big thing there. And then, Bills are going to roll. And if they can establish the run, eventually they'll be a solid team. But I think that's going to be a big game this week to look out for. It's going to be a high-scoring matchup.
Yeah, I think the Bills have the Bills. I said that weird. I think the Bills have to have a get-right game. They really should have probably at least been in a position to kick a field goal last week had it not been for just kind of a weird snafu there at the end of the game. So, I mean, in a way, they could have been 3-0 right now, and no get-right game, but the Ravens' defense sucks right now. They couldn't stop a cold if they needed to. Blake, you got a game?
They're a defensive
Oh, you're
Yeah, for me, it would be a AFC West game. I'm going with the Broncos at the Raiders. Both of them have been huge disappointments on the year. Both of them were hyped up, had a very strong AFC West, but they're kind of falling flat. I think this is a great chance for one of these teams to really turn it around. It's huge get right game for them. So I'm definitely going to keep my eye out on that game on Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, Raiders 0-3. Who saw
Yeah,
that
it's
coming?
rough. I don't think anyone. I feel like everyone thought they'd be fourth in the West, but I feel like they're a pretty decent 0-3 team, which is it's kind of hard to justify that. But they don't look terrible, even though the record does show them god awful.
Yeah. I mean, if it weren't for the Raiders, Houston would be the dead last team in the league.
And I feel like I'm not a
So-
huge Josh McDaniel fan. Actually, I really dislike him, and I'm glad he's failing. But yeah, I feel like if any decent head coach would have that team, they could potentially be 3-0. Because every one of their losses has just been kind of a heartbreaking loss. Like it's not like they've been blown out. They've all been very close games, especially that one in Arizona. That was rough.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kyler Murray's an athlete and also a toddler with your phone. I'm sure you guys have seen that video.
Never unsee it.
My wife was watching that game. She walked in on the game where he was scrambling. She goes, "That guy is so little." She knows nothing about football. She does know that Kyler Murray is tiny. Yeah, I mean they're both about the same height, I guess, but she's about 5'2".
All right. So let's get into our fantasy football. Aaron, do you have any fantasy football players that you feel are like a must start this week?
Yeah, Jamar Chase, actually. He's going up. It's interesting, too, because Miami right now, 3-0. Obviously, it could very well be 2-1, but Jamar Chase is going up against the 22nd ranked defense. That's huge for one of the best receivers in football. And I think Joe Burrow has figured it out from early in the season. We know he was struggling there that first week and a half. But I think he's actually starting to get into a groove once again. And if you're looking for big points tonight, Jamar Chase is really the guy that I think it could get you a lot of points in a hurry. I think he's actually on ESPN at 19.5 this week. That's pretty solid for a receiver. I like Jamar Chase with the Bengals.
Hell yeah. Isaiah?
It's going to be another rough week for me. I have some injuries. Not really sure if I'm going to start Herbert. Players to look out for. I mean, Stephon Diggs this week. I've got him in one of my leagues, and Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are going to be coming out with a vengeance after losing last week to a division rival and no longer being the number one team in football. Against a very, very, very shaky Ravens defense in secondary, where there's defensive masterminds such as Champ Bailey who can't even figure out what type of coverage they're trying to run or what they're doing back there. I think it's going to be a very big week for Allen through the air, and Stephon Diggs is he's not one you can just leave alone. He's going to get open.
Hell yeah, I totally agree. Blake, you got anything?
I don't think I really have a player to look out for, but I do want to go rogue for a minute. I want to tell you guys about a trade that I just did yesterday. So I traded away Breece Hall. I traded away Breece Hall and Pat Freiermuth, and I got Joe Mixon and Christian Kirk. So I think that's a huge W on my end.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I'm going. Yeah. So I'm going to start Joe Mixon today, and I also have, not the same league, I have Josh Allen, Javonte Williams, Joe Mixon, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, Dallas Goedert, Christian Kirk, Cowboys defense, and Dan Carlson for this week's lineup in one of my leagues.
Did you maintain your undefeated season?
No, I was going to say, so that trade was the one loss. So I lost by 4 points because Barkley just kind of went off in the fourth quarter on Monday. So I ended up losing. So now I'm 11-1 on the season.
Damn.
Yeah, so I lost. I'm glad who I lost to because I do like the person. So it was good to see him win, but I could have lost like a total ass, but I didn't.
I actually have to tell you an embarrassing story of mine. So I was put into, there's a radio show here in Indianapolis called Kevin and Query. It's on 107.5 The Fan here in Indy. And so this is aside from one of the other leagues that I'm doing, but somehow I missed the date of the draft. So didn't show up for the draft. I get all the computer choices. I get Kirk Cousins as my quarterback. Thankfully, Cousins has balled out for the most part, I believe, except for that week 2 Philly game. He's been pretty solid, 1-3. Funny enough, I missed that draft, but I'm sitting at 3-0 in that league. So
Hell yeah.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it helps when I think I've played 3 at the bottom feeders in the league, but I'll take my 91 points this past week and a win in my league that I didn't even get to do a draft in.
Damn. It's always a good week when you can put up 91 and still win.
Yeah.
Right.
I had a week where I actually put up 150 and lost. And those are more aggravating than putting up fewer points.
Absolutely. I could be the second to last highest score as long as I'm facing the lowest score and I still win. I don't care. You put 150 and you lose to somebody who gets 155, you're pretty hot for the next 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. My team is, I'm actually going to start Jared Goff this week. He's playing Seattle. So that means I'm actually putting Herbert on the bench. And I'll get to that later. But Jared Goff is getting the start for me. I got Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, Mike Evans. Yeah, he's back. Okay. Adam Thielen, Waller, Damian Harris. The Broncos defense. And Kaimi Fairbairn, who's been perfect on the season so far in kicking. He's pretty much been the only reason we were in a couple games. So, honestly, I feel like Mike Evans has to have a really solid game this week just to kind of get back on reputation and whatnot. The Chiefs aren't necessarily known for having just strong cornerback play. And Mike Evans is a man amongst boys when it comes to stature. So that's my player to watch for this week against the Chiefs. But I think that'll get us into our previews now. And Aaron, if you want to lead us off with your stuff.
Yeah, this is a big week. Obviously, big AFC South showdown at Lucas Oil Stadium. Colts, Titans. Blake, I know coming into this season, we had to be thinking Colts, Titans would be 1-2 in this division. And I still think it's got the potential, but this one is one where it really feels like, and you may disagree with me on this, Blake, it really feels like, though, that the Titans are backpedaling in a way. The Colts are coming in not necessarily going forward, but they're in a better position after week 3 at 1-1-1 than they would be if they were sitting at 0-2-1. This is a game where the Colts are favored by 3.5 points. And really the keys for this one is, will the Colts be able to figure out some of their offensive line issues? That is a major issue for the Colts coming into this. They've been having protection problems. They've allowed free rushers in all 3 games. Matt Ryan has been just pressured beyond belief in the first 3 weeks, giving up 7 fumbles and being pressured many times compared to what the prior 3 years during the Quentin Nelson years have brought. For the Titans, it's an interesting game for them because if you look at their defense, this might be a get-right game for the Colts because the Titans come in 24th ranked on the pass defense, 22nd ranked on the rush defense, which is nowhere near what they've been these last couple of years. It's just really, this is an interesting battle because will Jonathan Taylor be able to get yards? That's going to be a big key to open up that play action pass game for the Colts. That's where Matt Ryan seems to excel. He 72% last week, despite the fact that he was being hurried in the pocket and driven out of the pocket most of the game. That's really what I'm seeing. I think the Colts defense is strong. They've been able to stop the run. And after some changes after week 2, after just getting blasted by the Jags down in Jacksonville, I think we saw a different team from the Colts defense in week 3. It was, the Colts only truly gave up 3 points. If you really look at this game, they gave up 6 points on a Matt Ryan fumble that was deep in their own territory. And then they gave up 8 points again on another turnover, a turnover on downs, or what I like to call the Frank factor for the Colts. So you look at that, and the Colts had a really solid defensive game. It's simply a matter of, can they keep up that same defensive intensity, and can they find a way to finally put up points on the board against an ailing Tennessee defense? We know no Taylor Lewan, no Harold Landry. Can they find a way to put up points? And I think that's going to be how the Colts are going to find their way to victory on Sunday.
Okay. All right. Isaiah, you got a response? And then we'll work our way around and get down to Blake, who get on the Titans.
So, I mean, with that, a big thing, like you mentioned, definitely the offensive line. Quentin Nelson hasn't looked great this season. I still think he has been the bright spot on your O-line, but it's not a very bright spot. I mean, last week definitely was a get-right game for you guys. Probably should have lost that game with the way it was played. I mean, there were some gimme points in the beginning with, rookie Sky Moore trying to make something happen. Coming into this week, though, I mean, it's AFC South game. You never know, unless it's the Colts in Jacksonville. You never know who's going to win the game. It's a big one. I think that this is really going to test it. I mean, Derrick Henry, he's starting to heat up a little bit. So yes, your defenses look good. Will missing the Shaq Leonard, is he going to practice this week? He's practicing full participant. Is he going to play again? There's still some question marks over there in the secondary as well. But I mean, it's going to be a good game. I picked the Titans to win personally, because Jacksonville needs to stay number 1 in the AFC South. If we don't, I don't think we're winning this week, but that's something a bit later. But definitely think it's going to be a good game for both of y'all. It's going to be a get right game on both sides.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of potential for the Colts to come in and have a very good offensive day. It just really kind of depends on what kind of defense Tennessee's going to have. For me, the biggest key is the Titans secondary. Outside of Kevin Byard and Amani Hooker, the corners are a revolving door of no names or players who are drafted very high and have not quite lived up to the expectations. At this point, I think Blake mentioned it on the last pod that they had a practice squad edition out, like playing more snaps than a former first-round pick.
By like a mile.
So that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem for the Titans secondary. You try to invest heavy draft capital into the secondary, and then you can't even get them to play? Come on, son. That's a problem. That's mostly their issue, because they're able to get pressure on people. They've not ever gotten pressure this season. I mean, they ate up Daniel Jones. The problem was the running game. Oh God. I mean, I don't know if they got a lot of pressure on Josh Allen, but that guy's basically okay. Got a couple. Okay, and then last week they gave Derek Carr fits. Sorry, Texans on the brain. But I don't know. That's where this whole game lies for me. The secondary for the Titans, even though the Colts don't really have a wide receiver core outside of Michael Pittman, to me, in my opinion. Blake?
Yes, I think these two teams match up well together, because no position is really going to be dominant over another. It's kind of like a yin and yang situation. For the Titans to win, though, number one, fire Todd Downing, man. He's terrible. He's got to go. Todd Downing, man, every day, man, you're going to. My Facebook profile says fire Todd Downing, and it's going to stay up there until he's gone. But no, seriously, though, they need to stick to their strengths, which is play action, and then the run game off that. Also, rollouts. Tannehill's almost perfect on play action and rollouts, and we never use them. It's always like a halfback toss, Derrick Henry, and he loses 4 yards. The offensive line is god awful. Taylor Lewan is gone, as we know. Dennis Daly is in at left tackle, and he's not very good. Ironically, though, the pass protection is fairly well. Run block is god awful. The thing about the Titans is, man, there's weaknesses all over except for punter Ryan Stonehouse. I actually have the Colts to win this game, mostly because of like what Curtis said. The corners are god awful, man. They're so terrible. I hope Caleb Farley plays this week. I mean, we spent a first round pick on him. He was injured all last year, like he was his entire high school and college career. We still decided to draft him the first round anyway, just because we wanted to one up Isaiah Wilson, I guess. And he didn't see the field like at all except in the punt game, and even then he was a non-factor. They had I don't even remember, Terrence Mitchell off the Patriots practice squad just get torched. And then Trey Avery, undrafted free agent from Rutgers, outplayed Caleb Farley, and it's bad. Elijah Molden is on injured reserve, not including all the starters on injured reserve already. The Titans have 10 starters on the injury report this week. I think we're too banged up, even though I do like the matchup with the Titans and Colts. I think we're too injured. Titans are a bunch of cripples right now, and I really don't expect them to beat the Colts. I hope they do, but I'm not getting my hopes up. The Titans and Colts, they're both slow starters. It seems like every year they lose a lot of games, but end up winning it out. As Aaron said, I do think it'll be 1 and 2 in the division. Well, we'll see which one's 1, which one's 2. But if the Titans lose this game, go 1 and 3, it's going to be a tough battle.
Aaron?
Yeah, and I think one of the big X factors is Isaiah mentioned Derrick Henry starting to get going. Keep in mind, though, the Colts surprisingly have the third-ranked rushing defense right now. It's 21st in the passing game. So the X factor is Ryan Tannehill. Can he get going and get his receivers some yards? But keep in mind, Robert Woods is their leading receiver as far as receptions are concerned, with 9 receptions on the year. That's 3 a game. That's just not going to cut it. That said, I think if the Colts can contain Henry and find a way to limit those receptions, I like the Colts to win. And they really, at this point, they need it because next week they're going into Denver on a Thursday night short rest game. So the Colts are going to be desperate. Plus, their owner, Jim Irsay, is furious that the Colts have lost 4 out of 5 times to the Titans. So that I definitely think that the Colts are going to come out strong and win this one.
Yeah, I think so too. What are you, as a Colts fan, like, what are you most worried about matchup-wise? Like, what do you think that Tennessee can do that's going to expose you guys?
It really comes down to the Colts' offensive issues. That offensive line, I mean, we know that Danico Autry and those guys on the defensive line are going to create pressure. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, if Matt Ryan is given time to be able to throw the ball, he's shown in these first 3 weeks that he can actually make completions. I mean, again, go back to last week, 72% completion percentage, pretty solid no matter who the quarterback is, if he can make that happen. Despite the fact that he didn't necessarily have a major yardage passing game. But if he's given time, absolutely, I think he's going to be able to make some big throws, get past. It really is a matchup of that defensive line for the Titans against the offensive line of the Colts. Can Pryor and Pinter for the Colts offensive line take that pressure off of Braden Smith, Ryan Kelly, and Quentin Nelson? And let me also say Braden Smith for the Colts had a pretty lousy game last week too. So it's not just Pryor and Pinter on that offensive line. That's really what it comes down to, if you ask me.
Yeah, I do think, I agree. That matchup's going to be key to look at. Danico Autry, I mean, he is going to be playing in his former stadium. And last time he was there, I mean, he ate up your offensive line. I expect him to shine. And then Jeffrey Simmons, man, he's just a beast. Him and Quentin Nelson. Every time these guys play each other, I mean, Jeffrey Simmons seems to be Quentin Nelson's kryptonite. I mean, I think he's the best. He's having a little rough year this year, but I still think he's the best guard in football. I think he's incredible. So that's always a good matchup. I love seeing 2 great football players like Nelson and Jeffrey Simmons go against each other. So I'm excited for Colts Week. This is one of my favorite weeks of the year. I love playing against you guys. It's always fun, except for when you guys had Andrew Luck. I dreaded it twice a year. That was miserable. 10-0, that was terrible, man. Jesus Christ. That's why I'm happy about the 4-5 for the Titans, just because I know Luck's gone, but it's nice to just like dig into you guys.
Right.
I know exactly how it
be
feels.
honest, from about what was it, 2003 to 2014,
Oh,
the AFC South did not like playing the Colts.
it's not fair. You guys went Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. That's just not fair. It's ridiculous. I'm still mad about that. Like, it's ridiculous. I will never forget that season when you guys were just terrible. So, suck for luck. Great. You guys are gonna get another Hall of Fame quarterback.
And unfortunately, we ruined him.
Yeah.
Isaiah, you got
That's
any responses real quick? We got a couple minutes. We'll have to start another one.
Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey Simmons, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that originally. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons has always played really, 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 really good against the Colts. Matchup wise, that's going to be big in terms of Jonathan Taylor getting going. I mean, we saw in week 2 that, if you can keep Jonathan Taylor contained, Matt Ryan, you got to make Matt Ryan beat you in this game. And even with the injuries, I think if Simmons and those guys can get some pressure on it, I think at the end of the day that could potentially lead you guys to victory, even if you don't have as much faith in your Titans as I do.
That reminded me, though, about Jonathan Taylor. Historically, he hasn't done very well against the Titans either. I know one game last year he was doing well, and then Frank Wright, who I think is still going to be fired at the end of the season, he just gave up the run game. And honestly, I think it was that Colts. It was in Indianapolis last year. When, he was doing really, really well, and he saw like 3 touches in the second half. If they just kept feeding him the ball, then Colts probably would have won that football game.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's get here to the Jaguars. Isaiah, our resident Jags fan, what you got for us this week, brother?
Well, this is the week where we see if Jacksonville's the real deal. I'm not sitting here. I don't, like I've told a couple people already in the AFC South trash talk group chat, I don't see us winning as of right now unless we come out here and play a good game against the Eagles for that comes to the South. I think we definitely have a good chance of winning the South, but this will be the real test. If we can come out here and keep it close and or beat the Eagles, Jacksonville's back. What can I say? With that being said, though, ways to win. The big thing is both teams right now are top 10 pass rush teams. Eagles are up there. Eagles are no slouch. People have been talking all offseason saying that Jalen Hurts, he can't beat you through the pocket. He can't beat you through the pocket. He has to run. And even when he's been locked down this year in the pocket, he's been playing really well. I still don't 100% trust him. I know my first appearance on the podcast, I said he's playing like an MVP. He looks like one. Looks can be deceiving. I think this week, Jacksonville's going to come out. They're number 1 in rush defense right now. I think, when it comes to quarterbacks rushing, it's a little bit different. So there's still going to be some translation issues. Miles Sanders isn't going to get it done for him. They're going to need Hurts to run. We're going to keep Hurts on the run. I think that's a big thing, too. If we're not going to let him set his feet, he's going to be running for his life all night. Their offensive line is really good, though. But I think, in this matchup, their defensive line's good. Our defensive line's good. But I think that our offensive line's just edging them out right now. We've allowed 2 sacks through 3 weeks. Jawan Taylor has yet to have let up a single pressure. Was one of 2 players this season to not let up a pressure so far with 75 plus snaps played. Cam Robinson he's been playing up really well. I think establishing the run early is going to be a big thing. Darius Slay is hot. Is it Jamel Dean? Is that their rookie, or he's a young guy? He's been playing, right? Jamel Dean?
No, he plays for the Bucks.
That's right. I'm out here. Anyways, that's embarrassing. No, but the Eagles secondary. Oh yeah, Darius Slay is playing really well. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, that's what I wanted to talk about. They got him for freaking peanuts, dude. He's the number 1 in pass breakups out of the slot since 2019, and they got him for a 5th round pick. That's peanuts. That's ridiculous. The Eagles continue to just swindle teams on these picks and on these drafts and on these trades. And it's showing. They're getting good guys. That receiving core, AJ Brown has always been a problem for us. He's huge. He's a monster. Devonta Smith is like AJ Brown when it comes to catching and in coverage, but he's 30 pounds lighter. He's a little bit better of a route runner, a little bit quicker. But that receiving core with Goddard to kind of top it all off, or Goddard, or however you say his last name, it's ridiculous, dude. It's going to be a real test for our corners. Tyson Campbell's look good, but there's been some plays where he's still young. He still makes mistakes. So getting after Hurts up front is going to really, really, really matter. It's just like last week with Justin Herbert, getting him out of the pocket, getting him uncomfortable, getting as many, sacks as you can. We really didn't have a lot of sacks last week, but I know Josh Allen registered 8 pressures in that game alone. Getting after the quarterback's big. We can't give up these big plays either. We can't just try and throw the ball all over the field. Slay will tear us up. That secondary will tear us up. We got to get the run established. That was kind of something in week 1 we had a problem with, and people were like, "Oh, well, we average 8 yards per carry," and that's because we only ran so many times. You throw 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 more carries in there, and all of a sudden your average goes way down because they're expecting it. So I'm just looking for Lawrence to continue to improve. Kind of the short to intermediate game is where we've been successful. Zay Jones going down today is really big. Potentially could just be a rolled ankle, could be something worse, could be something not as bad, maybe just a light sprain, but he didn't practice today. That takes a weapon away from us. Elevating Tim Jones. I mean, he's going to play for us. Jamal Agnew is going to get a decent bit of touches this week. I can kind of feel it already to replace Zay Jones, but he's not a big body guy. So that's the problem. Is we're not going to have a big body receiver besides, Marvin Jones and Tim Jones, Tim Jones is a young guy. He made it on the practice squad last week, but that's really going to be it. Is just establishing the run with James Robinson and ETN, getting after Jalen Hurts, making him uncomfortable, and not trying to push the ball too hard downfield and letting Darius Slay and that secondary eat. So, I mean, other than that, I really don't have a lot more ways to win. They're just a very complete team right now. So getting after them early is going to be the big thing.
Hell yeah. Blake, got a response?
I really wanted to pick Jacksonville to win this game. I didn't though. I picked the Eagles. However, I do think Jacksonville's a good team. I like your defense a lot. I really do like your linebackers and Josh Allen. I like your rookies, Lloyd and Walker. You guys have really exceeded my expectations. I sang your praises on our last show. I'm going to do it again. I think it's going to be close. If you guys win, I think you guys are going to be officially a good football team. I already think you're the best in the South because you are your record and you're first. So as of right now, you guys are the team to beat. However, if you win this game or come close, if you lose like a 20-23 game, I'm going to consider you guys a very good football team. So I think this is your time to prove me wrong. Same with Trevor Lawrence, because I'm not a fan of Trevor Lawrence. But this is going to be a big game for him. I'm not a fan of Jalen Hurts either, but I do think he's having a great season. I think A.J. Brown's fitting in great with that offense, and same with Devontae Slim Reaper, yes. Smith, thank you. He's looking really good. He had a really rough week 1. He had he had 3 targets, no catches, and that was rough. But yeah, Philadelphia is very, very impressive. They might be the team to beat in the NFC, and that could be a Super Bowl contender. We'll see. I do think it's going to be close. It's going to be relied on Trevor Lawrence scoring some points. I want to see more ETN, although James Robinson's looking incredible. No surprise there. It's just, I know your defense should do well. Try to hold this high-flying offense. It's going to be a tall task, but I think you guys can do it. So I think it's really going to be Trevor Lawrence controlling the game. You're going to need him to be a game manager, yet finish drives and score points to beat the Eagles. I want to see Jacksonville, but if I had to bet money on it, it'd have to be the Eagles just because it's hard to bet against them right now.
If I wasn't a Jags fan, I'd say the same thing.
Yeah, I really do. I like your chances. I would not be shocked if you guys win that game. If I'm a betting man, which I don't bet on the NFL because I'm not good. But yeah, I hope you guys win in a way, just for good football. I hope you guys win.
Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville comes into this game after watching them in weeks 2 and 3. If you would ask me this after week 1, I would have said there's no chance that Jackson can go in and hang. I think after weeks 2 and 3, I feel like they've got more of a shot. Lawrence is at 69% completion percentage on the year. Most of that is thanks to his stellar game against the Colts because the Colts couldn't stop anything. They couldn't stop a middle school JV team.
Again, great game. Great game.
Yeah, not a great game. Not a fun game, especially if you're in attendance for that one. Jeez. I tried asking for a flight refund from Jimmers. It didn't happen.
Oh, were you at that game?
I was unfortunately at that game in Jacksonville. Yeah. So,
Never go to an away game in Jacksonville. Never do it.
told him.
Can't do it. It's a waste of money.
I had friends saying, "Are you a glutton for punishment or what?"
Yeah,
But
Any other game, go to an away game.
games. Yeah, I've been to away games in every stadium in the AFC South now, and 2-1, and you know where that loss came from. So,
It's pretty cool though. That's awesome. I've never been to an away game.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Colts fans travel well. That helps out a lot, but definitely not much fun when you're losing. So, but like I said, Trevor Lawrence is getting time to throw. That's a huge key to this victory for the Jags if they can win this game. He's getting time in the pocket. He's actually reading his progression. He's making smart decisions. He's not being careless with the ball. Only one interception through 3 weeks. That's huge. And maybe the more impressive stat is his O-line is protecting. They've only gave up 2 sacks all year. That's impressive for a Jags team that, quite frankly, has stunk for the better part of 26 years. So, on the rushing side, James Robinson's getting yards. Travis Etienne is making plays when they're involving him in the rushing game. Again, the ball is being spread around to multiple receivers. Unfortunately, though, I think where they run into a problem is Jalen Hurts is going to be able to find a way to get rushing yards. He's going to be able to find a way to move the ball around. He's got a number of receivers that he can get the ball to. I mean, A.J. Brown is a complete beast, averaging 103 yards a game. I know you're disappointed, Blake, but he's absolutely destroying everyone that he's seeing right now. And even another X factor is the number 2 receiver, Devontae Smith. He's making big plays. He's got a lot of yards as well. He's got, I believe, just under 250 for the season in 3 weeks.
It's really just 2 games.
It's impressive. So I like what Jacksonville is doing. I like Philly just a little bit more. I think Philly really has established themselves, in my personal opinion, as the best team in football right now. And that includes Buffalo. Now, ask me again in a few weeks. That answer will probably change. But right now, Philly's my pick as far as if I had to make a week 4 prediction of who's going to win the Super Bowl, which we know how quickly that all can change. But I like Philly in this one. Unfortunately, I'm going to say it. I think Jacksonville right now is the best team in the AFC South. That includes if Indy were to win and take over the division lead. I still think Jacksonville right now is the best team in the South. Indy's got too many question marks for me. Tennessee's obviously got a lot of question marks right now with their health. So
they're like the Riddler.
Yeah, exactly. And Jacksonville, if they can go in and keep it close, keep it within a touchdown, I think a lot of people are going to be putting some money down on Jacksonville to win the division.
All right, I have kind of a chaos take on this one. Okay, so I think the Eagles are the most fraudulent 3-0 team we have seen so far, and here's why. Look at the 3 teams that they've played. The Vikings, they won 24-7. Only put up 24 points in 1 quarter, held scoreless in the other 3. They almost lost week 1 to the Lions due to a late 4th quarter comeback by the Lions. And then you look at last week, who they play last week?
You would.
Oh, God. I know. Now it's gone.
Been forever.
The Commanders. Yeah. And they beat the Commanders 24-8. Now, would any of you guys tell me that any of those 3 teams that they've played would have been in any shape or in your mind contender in any way?
No, not contender.
Not necessarily. Okay. However, you can say that the Commanders beat the team that we just said might be the best team in the AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Let's be honest.
Does that say more about the Commanders, or does that say more about the AFC South not being good right now?
Yeah, we're not a good division.
It's more about the South.
Let's be honest. Jacksonville beat themselves. The Commanders did not beat us. Let's be honest here. All right.
There we go.
Fair enough. But I think that Jacksonville has the elements to make this win happen and very possible. While this is the best defensive line that the Jaguars have faced so far, in terms of name value, I mean, they still have Fletcher Cox. They got the rookie Davis from Georgia. I'm pretty sure Derek Barnett tore his ACL and he's gone. But they still have, what's that old guy that's been there for like ever, number 55, 56, something like that? Brandon Graham. Is he still alive? So I think they have some other rush players that are going to give the Jacksonville Jaguars fits if they can. But as we know and as we've talked about, the Jaguars' offensive line has done very well, only allowing 2 sacks. If they can mitigate the defensive line at all, I think the Jaguars have a really solid shot at beating the Eagles. To me, the only way that they can do that is establishing the run and making people play for the run first, and then hitting them over the top with a play action. Because I think they do have the ability to stretch the field pretty far if they wanted to. And they're going to have to, because I think they're going to have to be keeping up with some points this week. But I think the Jaguars defense offers a very complex defense in comparison to some of the defenses that Jalen Hurts has been playing. And I think they'll actually play up to this game like they did last week, and absolutely, I think they have the potential to do another thing like they did to the Chargers last week. So that's my chaos pick. I'm riding with the Jags on this one.
Let's go.
We got to take down the birds.
Let's clip some wings.
Let's clip some wings, boys. Just a little Duval. Just a little bit. Just a little Duval. Okay? Capital. It was like a lowercase Duval. You know what I mean? All right. Let's get into the Texans game. I actually just got an update on my phone that Jalen Petrie has been rated the number 4 safety in the NFL, according to production and everything else. So, as a rookie, he's absolutely playing stellar football. And that's huge for the Texans going forward. I think he's going to be somebody that they can build around. Beyond that, there's only a couple names that were worth mentioning that didn't practice yesterday or, were limited participants today. Brandon Cooks missed Wednesday because of an illness. And it didn't actually say if he played or not, or if he practiced today. It just had like a parentheses and a dash in it. So he might be a ghost now. I don't know what that means, but Malik Collins was a limited participant yesterday, full participant today. I mean, and that's pretty much all you need to worry about. Everybody else is just kind of a practice squad call-up who just got nicked up. But as we're looking at this Chargers game for the Texans, some things are important to remember here. One, Lovie Smith's defense last season gave Justin Herbert's fits in their late season push for the playoffs, including a pick 6 thrown by Herbert, several, or I don't know about several, but a couple sacks on Herbert. And this was a team at full strength. Okay. And this was a team that had something to lose. And the Texans were just playing to play, essentially. They were trying to figure out if Davis Mills was going to be anything. And so the only difference between now and then is they brought in J.C. Jackson and they brought in Khalil Mack, and Joey Bosa's not going to play. He like devastated his groin. Rashawn Slater tore his ACL last week. He's out. Keenan Allen's been out since week 1. He's been a limited participant at practice this week. If he plays, that might do something, but the way Herbert played last week after that rib injury, it doesn't look like he's really able to get that full range of motion in his throw without feeling some sort of a grimace and pain. And they were able to get to him a lot early and often. And Houston has been able to bring the pressure on everybody that they've played so far. So I think that continues. I think that they have the capabilities here to actually make Herbert have a rough time in Houston. And I think Houston get their first win of the season on this game. I'll open it up to anybody who's got a comment.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's so funny. You get to every season, it seems like these national writers are, this is the year the Chargers are breaking through. This is the year the Chargers are breaking through. They're almost the media darlings, if you will. If you remember, you go back just a month ago, they were everybody's pick. They're going to get to the Super Bowl this year. Now you've got Rashawn Slater out for the season. Who knows when Joey Bosa is coming back? I mean, the Houston Texans, despite being at 0-2-1, are not nearly as bad as their record indicates. And they're not going to be nearly as bad of a team as most might think they will be throughout the season. Davis Mills has had moments of where he's showing that he can be a franchise quarterback. I'm right there with you, Curtis. I think that this is one of those weekends that the Houston Texans can sneak up on a team that is without a doubt better than them on paper. But they can sneak up on a team and they can beat them. I've got Houston winning this one as well.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Isaiah, Blake, either one?
I don't. I'm going the Chargers. You guys do make convincing arguments. I just don't see it. I don't see them losing this game. Justin Herbert, he is banged up. Rashawn Slater, who's probably, again, one of the best offensive linemen in the league, especially him only being a second-year player. They got a gym in him, and Bosa going down, that's rough. They still have Khalil Mack. We can't forget about him. He's a monster. Their secondary is still very, very strong. And it's really the secondary versus Davis Mills. I got to roll the Chargers on that one. I feel like their offense can be contained, but I think the defense, that's where they have a huge advantage over your offense. I do like Dameon Pierce. I think he deserves a lot more carries and touches. And I also like Brandon Cooks a lot. He's been struggling the last couple of games. If he can break out, I think that would help Houston a lot. I think they need to give him the ball more. Even if you have to force feed Brandon Cooks, he's your best offensive player. He's a playmaker. We've seen what he can do. Davis Mills needs to give him the football. Give good players the football, and then I think they could have a chance, but I got to go with the Chargers. I feel fairly confident about that, though. The only thing that does concern me is injuries, and I'm not a huge fan of their coaching either, but that defense, I'm too impressed with their defense, even with Joey Bosa being gone.
Yeah, I mean, Derwin James is a problem for anybody. J.C. Jackson actually got lit up the last time they played. God, who was he? I cannot remember who he was covering, but he did not play very well. And then he didn't play well in the Chiefs game either. So that was kind of my whole argument there. But Isaiah, do you have any comments?
Yeah, so I mean, Joey Bosa just looks like he doesn't want to play, if I'm being honest. But besides that, I've got the Chargers taking this game. I think that they're going to come out really, really, really pissed off. Even losing Slater with that ruptured bicep, and then losing Joey Bosa with the groin injury. One big thing that Houston's going to have over the Chargers is that, Khalil Mack looks old.
Yeah. Like,
Khalil Mack is not the same Khalil Mack that he was in Chicago or with the Raiders. He looks old. he's definitely, still good, but there's been moments where he doesn't look like Khalil Mack. He just looks like another guy out there. Derwin James, like I mentioned, last week, I think he's the best safety in football when healthy. J.C. Jackson, he's been hurt since week 1 with a foot injury. The big play he gave up against the Chiefs for the touchdown to basically seal the game actually wasn't even his read. He just happened to, make a good play and get on the guy down the field. I think he's going to pose a lot of problems, if he can get healthy, get right and play. They've still got Asante Samuel Jr., who either looks like, the best corner in football, or he looks like, a young guy just making his way into the NFL. If Cooks doesn't play, I've definitely got the Chargers going. Cooks has had magic over the past couple of years where you count him out, and then all of a sudden Davis Mills and him have that connection. Him and Fitzpatrick had that connection right before Fitzpatrick was gone. It's just I think the Texans are very sneaky. I don't think they're sneaking up on this one. I think the Chargers are just going to be too mad, and they're going to play very high. Y'all just need to really make sure you attack that left tackle, whoever they replace Rashawn Slater with. I think that's going to be a really good matchup for Jerry Hughes to be on, and I think if you can force some pressure because of that situation, there's definitely a good chance. I don't think Lindsley's coming back this week either. Their center.
And he's one of the best pass blocking centers.
He's really good. So, I mean, there's definitely a chance. I'm not saying that the Texans can't win. I just think as of right now, for me, I think the Chargers are going to be very mad. They just got smoked by a team who was, coming into the season considered the worst team in the league still, or one of the worst. It's going to be a big game. And if Keenan plays, I definitely move some stuff around on the, in Vegas. And, but Herbert, check his oil early. Hit him early. That'll get him off balance. But I've still got the Chargers taking this one, but it definitely could change.
Yeah. Herbert's health. That's a big one. Herbert's health is huge, but also going back to what Curtis said earlier, Jalen Petrie, rookie man, 2 interceptions already on the young season. Look out for him. If he can get going, if he can be strong in that game, he's a big X factor for me.
I must say, these AFC South rookies, we're all pretty good. But they're all looking
we get it. We drafted a pretty solid class this season. I feel like it's kind of as a whole. I really wanted Houston to get Jelani Woods, but
yeah. I mean, Jelani is. I know obviously we're not talking about the Colts any longer, but Jelani, man, it just proves again what we just said. The AFC South, dare I say, maybe had the best drafting division of the pro football draft this year. I mean, it's certainly possible.
I mean, you've got Jacksonville, so of course, we get 5 top 3 round picks every year. We've got to.
That's true. When was the last time you picked outside the top 5?
2017,
2016,
2017.
Yeah. 2023, baby.
Yeah.
Here we go. Well, all right. So last thing, does anybody want to nominate anybody for the Week 3 MVP of the South?
Wow.
Who for me, I nominate James Robinson again. He's already gotten it once on this show. Is there anybody else that you feel deserves the nomination, or do you second?
I mean, Jonathan Taylor, I think will on the defense for the Titans. I think he's got a solid chance to have a big game if it lines up on paper. He would probably be my pick.
Oh, but, hold on. I meant for last week.
Oh, whoops. My bad.
You're good, brother.
Okay, Jonathan Taylor was not the Week 3 MVP. He has a solid chance to be a Week 4 MVP. James Robinson, I would go with that as well.
Blake?
I mean, maybe him. I feel like nobody for the Titans would even be considered. So, I don't know. Probably James Robinson. I think that's safe.
Isaiah?
Or you could say to Trevor Lawrence even.
Yeah, probably. Or just generally the Jaguars defense.
Or
the whole defense.
Chris Jones from the Kansas City Chiefs might be the AFC South MVP. At least I think he's actually going into the Colts Ring of Honor up here, I believe.
He better. I'd say Trevor Lawrence personally. I mean, James Robinson had a great game. Outside of his 50-yard touchdown run, I mean, he was 16 carries for 50 yards. I mean, it's decent, but I mean, I wouldn't say he was the driving force. But Trevor Lawrence just delivering dots and keeping the ball safe is the biggest thing for me. I mean, yes, he's got a really good secondary. He diced him up. He did what he had to do. 72, 73% completion percentage that game. I mean, for me personally, him just keeping the ball out of the other team's hands is big for me.
Okay. So I just was thinking back about who has been the MVPs last couple weeks. So week 1, it was Jonathan Taylor. Week 2 was Christian Kirk. And I'm going to give this one a tie. James Robinson and Trevor Lawrence. Okay. So any closing remarks, fellas?
I mean,
Jags are winning the South.
Fire Todd Downing.
Titans and Colts is deciding who's number 2. I'm saying it now.
We'll see.
I mean, it really, you think about it, as strong as Jacksonville started out, if they fall this weekend and the Colts win, even though they won that head-to-head matchup, the Colts are back in first place. I think this is such a pivotal match between the Colts and Titans. If the Titans win, they're right back in the thick of the division. If the Colts win, they're establishing it once again that they're going to be right there for the division hunt. And I think it doesn't necessarily eliminate the Titans, but man, it makes it really challenging. And the Colts need this one. They need it badly. They've got 5 division games right here within the first month and a half of the season, and then they don't see anybody until they see Houston in Week 18. So they're desperate, in my opinion. The Colts have to play desperate for a win this weekend.
Yeah, you guys got a terrible schedule. Like, I don't know who created that, but it was bad.
Dude, the scheduling in general is bad for the AFC South this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think it's honestly the Colts have an easy schedule if you look at the opponents, but it's a bad setup. And the way the Colts start out every year, I would have much rather started with Philly Week 1 than I would have Houston and Jacksonville Week 1 and 2.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'd like to go ahead and thank everybody for watching. I'd like to go ahead and thank everybody for coming on. Aaron, thank you. It's been a pleasure having you on. Isaiah, Blake, thank you guys. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We still have that 100 subscriber goal by the end of September. And be good people.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Aaron.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me.